Show is presented to you by the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation. I'm Chase Miller. Tonight, a lot of football talk here on the program, as we'll hear from Kevin Feeney and the Moorhead Spuds football team as they tangle with St. Cloud Tech upcoming this Friday. In the latest QRF polls, you have Moorhead Spuds at number 1 in 5A. In the Minnesota side, we go to North Dakota then with Elliott Belquist of New Rockford-Sheyenne football as the Rockets 9-man football team in the top 5 in the latest 9-man poll and undefeated on the season as well. From there, a couple of Minnesota interviews with Paul Clark of Pillager football and Bill Magnuson of Pequot Lakes, and Goodridge Grygla football is in the top 5 as well in 9-man on the Minnesota side. We'll hear from Schaeffer, the Kindred Viking volleyball program, as the Vikings earned a 4-set win over the Sargent County Bulldogs last night in Kindred, and we'll wrap up the show with our senior spotlight with Mason Klabo of Fargo Davies on his commitment to Illinois State and going through the recruiting process. Again, this is the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. Let's kick it off with Kevin Feeney. Joining us now from the Moorhead Spuds, he's the head football coach. That is Kevin Feeney here as we get to the end of September, which means also on the Minnesota side, you're pretty much at the midway point of the season here before you get ready for sectional football. And Kevin, obviously just looking at the box scores, seeing what you've been able to do offensively and defensively, been a really nice start to this season for your club so far, 4-0 on the year. What have you liked best about your start to where you are currently today here, Kevin, for the Spuds?
Yeah, you know what? No doubt about it. And number one, I can't believe we're already getting close to the end of September. But, we felt like coming into the season, we had a tremendous summer. Our kids had some great workouts, but we did a lot of install, a lot of 7-on-7 tournaments. And so we felt pretty prepared for the season and needed to be with the likes of Spring Lake Park, Rogers, Bemidji, and Brainerd as our first 4 weeks. We knew the challenges were definitely going to be very, very, very strong for us. So we feel like we've had a good start to the season. Fortunately, we've been able to stay healthy for the most part, and I think our scores reflect that.
You know, the one thing here to your scores, you scored at least 41 points in all of your games offensively. So let's start there. What's clicking? Who's clicking, so to speak, offensively that has allowed you guys to get in sync and really attack that opposing defense early on in games?
You know, we had a good chunk of our receiver and running back room back from last year. And so even though we were a really young football team last year, and we're still a young football team for the most part, we were able to bring a lot of experience from the varsity side of things coming into this season. And so we've really hit the ground running. Like I said, we did a lot of 7-on-7 skelly stuff throughout the summer and really tried to refine and really figure out what kids can do and where we needed to put the puzzle pieces together. And we've got a lot of weapons and a lot of speed on the offensive side. And, I think the biggest challenge for us coming in is we had a couple offensive linemen that were returning, but, we had some new guys up there. And so I think that's kind of been the work in progress where we need to continue to get better and develop. But like I said, we've had a lot of guys that have had some catches and some big moments on Friday nights. And our run game, like I said, our running backs, Madison Stua, Tay Rich, and Carson Heinz, we felt really, really good about. And so, you put that all together with Jet and his ability to get the football to guys in space. And, fortunately for us, like I said, we've got some good speed. We saw it last spring in track that we were going to have an opportunity just speed wise. And it's the old cliche that coaches say you can't coach speed. And that's really been a tremendous advantage for us for the first month of the season.
Yeah, I know. Just even last week too, you had Rain, you had Jamison. I mean, you had a handful of guys on the wide receiver spot that even got opportunity. So we can have weapons like that. How does that just help a coaching staff put guys in space, as you kind of alluded to, Kevin, but also know that, hey, we can go left, we can go right, we can do a quick screen, we can, hit something down the middle. It just kind of feels like maybe the playbook, you're not having to say, okay, we can only do this. It really feels like it's probably open for your offensive coaches.
It does. We are a true spread football team as far as we want to stretch you 52 yards wide. And like I said, with the speed aspect, we have the ability to take it vertical too and take the top off with a lot of guys. And so that's really kind of what I would say Jets had a good start to the season is because he's just doing what the defense is allowing us to do. And whether that means catch the football and get it out fast, whether it means being able to take shots down the field, or whether it's they're just playing coverage and we got to run the football. A lot of those things happen at the line of scrimmage for us. And like I said, he's had some good decision-making so far. And, even a guy like Rufus Kermy, who was last year was probably one of our most explosive guys. We've only had him for 2 quarters against Spring Lake Park. Otherwise, he's had an ankle injury. And so as we get him back, we even feel like we can be more explosive. It's a great problem to have to try to figure out how to get all these guys some touches.
On the defensive side here, Kevin, obviously it makes life easier when your offense is scoring points, but you still got to go make 3-and-outs. You still got to try to find ways to get turnovers and get the ball back to your offense. So through about half the season, what has done well on the defensive side here for Spuds football?
The formula is pretty much the same as the offensive side. We graduated a lot of defensive linemen last year, and so coming into the season, there was no doubt. Excuse me, that was going to be our challenge. Our linebacker crew was all coming back from last year, and our secondary was primarily coming back from last year. And so we felt like the back end was going to have, once again, a lot of speed. And you know what? When you have a lot of speed, you become a better tackling team because the more speed you have, the more hats you get to the football. Typically, maybe one guy's going to miss a tackle, but not multiple guys. And you know what? The other big thing for us is when you have speed, you create explosive plays, which then creates turnovers. And we've been fortunate to win the turnover battle in every single game we played so far. And anybody who watches football knows that that's probably the number one key stat in winning football games.
As you kind of look ahead here, Kevin, what's a trait, what's a characteristic so far coming into the season, now that you've played 4 games that you like, that you want to see this team continue moving through St. Cloud Tech and what you have coming up on the schedule here?
Well, you know what? I think the big thing is a mature football team just keeps progressing, right? I think that's our big challenge is you can't be scoreboard watching. You can't be, seeking out big plays. You just got to do what you got to do. And a lot of that just starts with our preparation and practice. And we've had very, very good practices so far. And that's probably our number one goal that we just talked about in our staff meeting is no matter the opponent, we just got to continue the progress because, as you move later into the season, the teams are going to continue to get better and the competition is going to get tougher. And we've got to stay healthy. I mean, that's the key to the success is, continuing to move forward, but stay healthy and continue to challenge kids to play at a high level. Right now, thankfully we've had a lot of games where we've stretched the scores and we've been able to play a lot of players. So we're getting some experience there too. But like I said, the biggest thing moving forward is just making sure guys are fresh and staying healthy and staying sharp.
What's the one fun thing for you, Kevin, once you get from Fridays to Saturdays? I know there's a lot of coaches in the area that have been fortunate to either have their sons play, maybe their daughters play collegiate volleyball. On the opposite side, maybe it's just, hey, you know what? I was with this kid for 4 years as a coordinator. I want to see them play really well at the local colleges where they go. So how much can you kind of go from, football coach to dad mode or from, being the old football coach, so to speak, for someone that
Right.
was in your system for 4 years. They're making plays at Northern State or Duluth or wherever it is. How much fun of a turnaround, but also crazy time of the year is it for you from a Friday night to Saturday morning to Saturday evening with kids from Spuds and anywhere else that are playing collegiate football?
I absolutely love it. I mean that's one of my big. Obviously, we want to win a lot of football games here at Moorhead High School, but we really do appreciate all the relationships that we have and that we can develop with kids, and that doesn't end when they graduate, and that's something that's really special to us. And like you're saying, I love college football. I love college athletics. So Saturdays for me are super fun to watch all our guys. I keep in touch with almost all of them that are playing at the next level, and guys who aren't playing at the next level, a lot of them come back on Friday nights and we were able to see them after games and spend some time with them. But, just an awesome opportunity for us to, like I said, celebrate the success of our past kids because we really do truly believe once they're a Spud, they're always a Spud. And we're going to be their biggest cheerleaders, like I always say. And then from a personal side, my daughter's playing soccer at the University of Maryland, just happened to be in town at MSUM Moorhead this weekend. So we had the entire UMary soccer program over for dinner on Saturday night, which my wife puts a lot of work into that. I'm more of just the smile and host and shake hands and meet everybody, but super fun to watch her compete on Sunday and spend a little bit of time with our whole family.
As you kind of go from there, Kevin, I always ask coaches this question, and also some coaches as yourself, you're able to kind of wear 2 hats with the recruiting process, just because recruiting's been so different over the decades with how kids now are being contacted, how they're being watched, where coaches can kind of go. We hear even players saying, I'm recruiting, so to speak, the coaches. They're not recruiting me as much with my highlight film that I'm going out there and reaching out. So if someone is 15, 16 years old, and they're finally getting recruited or a college is reaching out to them respectively on whatever level it might be, Kevin, going through the process that you've kind of been through, both being recruited as a player, but also now as a father with kids that have gone on to the next system, what would be some words of advice that you might want to tell a family who has never had their son or daughter before being recruited, or they kind of thought about it, but maybe there's something that they're not 100% sure of? What would be some advice that you'd like to pass down?
No doubt. You know what I think the biggest thing is number one, be the best team that you can be, because guess what? I always tell kids individual accolades come through team success. I mean, so number one, your team's got to be the number one priority. But after that, you know, when games are over, and if it means putting highlights together, like you're saying, and getting stuff out on social media, after that, then it's just being extremely open and respectful to every program, every level that remotely even expresses any interest. And you know, a lot of kids have dreams and goals, which is awesome. And I always tell them, you know, shoot the moon for that. But on the same token, you don't know which teams are going to truly have interest in when it's all said and done in the end. So just give everybody respect, give everybody the best time and the best characteristics that you can put forward, and understand that it's going to be a long process. But on the same token, when it's all said and done, you'll find out who's really interested in you. And, you know, like I said, our goal here at Moorhead High is if anybody wants to continue playing football beyond the high school years, we're going to try and find a spot, try and get as many of our players out in front to get evals from every level of college football that we possibly can. And it's an important process, because you know what, truly believe that, you know, like you said, I've been fortunate to have my own kids. Like I said, whether it's my son or my daughter playing soccer, and recruiting is different in every sport, and it happens at different times throughout the year for every sport, and you kind of learn the ins and outs of all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, you get to meet a lot of really neat people, and there's a lot of great coaches in our area, both in every sport. And so great opportunities for kids. Truly believe that if you're a part of a team, it's just going to help you later in life as you get into the real world, and hopefully be successful from there.
Final thing for me, Kevin, I always talk with coaches, and it seems like it's just getting better. There's more explosive athletes on the opposite side. There's same, hopefully, within your program that you've been able to do over the years, seeing guys move on to Power 5, to D1, D2, wherever it might particularly be. But where is Minnesota football with the section, with the class that you're in right now? How has that evolved from your time when you started with Moorhead to where you kind of are right now? Just seeing, you know, when you look at a roster and going, okay, they're going to a Power 5, they're going to a D2, you know, they're going here. How has that kind of evolved during your tenure at Moorhead?
It's gotten a lot better. You know what, I'm not taking anything away from 2010 on, but you know what, like you said, I think number one, year-round strength training and preparation is really elevated in our area, which then in turn gives you a lot better success. But to give you a perspective, last year, Rogers, we played Rogers for 6 years in a row. They had 3 defensive linemen. One of them went to the University of Oklahoma, one of them went to the University of Wyoming, and the other one's at the University of North Dakota. And we played those guys for 3 years. And so I always tell kids, if you want a really good gauge of where you're at, just come on over and play Class 5A football in Section 8, and you're going to find some pretty good competition. But, you know, this year, for example, Alexandria and us, you know, I think they're ranked number 1 in the AP poll, and we're not too far behind them. And on the flip side, that the QRF, we're ranked number 1 and they're number 2. And so, you know, Section 8 football has been really, really good. They represent the state really well. But like I said, I think Minnesota as a whole has really, really elevated its sports. And I think you see it not just in football, you're seeing it in basketball, you're seeing it in track, and you've always seen it in hockey. And so, you know, girls basketball, I mean, women's basketball right now has just had a great, tremendous run for all sports. But I think that really just bodes to the preparation and the development and the youth programs in our area.
Hey, Kevin, as always, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck against St. Cloud Tech coming up on Friday and throughout the rest of the season.
Hey, appreciate you having me on. Thanks, man.
Head coach Elliott Belquist joins us right now on yourliveevent.com coaches program, and Coach Belquist for New Rockford-Sheyenne-Maddock Rockets football team, and his 16th year. So thanks, Coach, for joining us here. And we're going to talk about your season so far, and the games that you got coming up, and playoff scenarios and everything. But, you know, first off, let's see, you guys are rated number 2 in the state for Rocket football in the latest polls that came out last week. 2-0 in 9-man Region 3 and 5-0 overall. So give us your thoughts so far. Rocket football this year, as you're off to a pretty incredible start for the 2024 season.
Yeah, we got a nice group of upperclassmen, juniors and seniors at you know, good numbers and a lot of good players in there. And when you can get older upperclassmen onto the field and really limit the number of freshmen, sophomores you're putting on the field, it, you know, makes it a lot easier on Friday nights. So kids have been rolling. We've got great leadership with our older guys, and you know, they're just they're hungry each week, and we've been playing pretty good ball.
Let's talk about your offense. You've scored 301 points through 5 games. You're averaging 60 points per game. What makes your offense so powerful?
Well, we got a lot of playmakers. We get them out in space, get them out, get them the ball as quickly as you can. Nothing's too complicated or down the field. We just get the ball out, get their playmakers the ball in their hands and as quick as we can, and get them in space and try to let them do some work. So we got some nice receivers that make extra yards after the catch, and then we'll come with our running backs. We got a stable of running backs that we like to throw at people with Carter and Ingebretson and Braden Collier and Jackson Schumacher. So just got a lot of depth that we get the ball out.
Your defense, only has allowed 28 points per game, I think, including 3 shutouts. So just a little over 5 points per game. What makes the defense so tough?
They hit the weight room. They got stronger. They got faster. Our front seven have been playing really well. Stuffing the run, and then we can get pressure on you when you third and long or whatever it is. And our DBs, we got some nice tall DBs when we need them, and we have some smaller, quicker ones when we need them. So, just the physical, the stingy on defense, and teams got to earn their yards.
Okay, let's talk about Rocket's schedule now. Just 3 games left in the season. It's kind of hard to believe already. We're over halfway through. So I got Larimore Polar Bears this Friday night, and that's in Larimore. So what are you expecting for that game this Friday night?
I guess I really haven't got that far into them yet, but I've watched a little bit. Like quick quarterback guy, he likes to run around. They do some misdirection stuff. They'll try to pass more on us this week than maybe we've seen this year. So we haven't gone against a lot of pass yet. So hopefully our DBs can be in tune there. But there are a few different things that we haven't seen this year. But like I said, I haven't seen too much of them yet.
Okay. And then looks like after this Friday night, we'll look ahead here. You're off all next week. And then the following week, you're going to be playing in Maddock Tuesday night against North Star. And then that following Friday, you got your last home game, and that's Hatton Northwood, right?
Yep. So, Tuesday will be a non-conference game with North Star there. I had to pick that one up with scheduling with, Oak Grove, I think, moving up with Shanley. So we had to pick up another game there. So we'll play Tuesday, Friday. But, then we'll end with Hatton Northwood, the last region game of the year, and see, possibly could be for the region championship. Who knows? We'll see what happens this Friday. I guess that will determine what happens the following Friday. So, coming quick. You look forward to this football season, and man, it just flies by, and back onto the last 3 games already.
Right. Yeah. And of course, your co-op, New Rockford-Cheyenne's co-op. I think this year and last year with Maddock, that's when it started. So you get a home game in Maddock then this year in that Tuesday game, right?
Yeah, we're gonna go up there that Tuesday and try to give them one a year. It just worked out that we'll play that one up there, and I think they're going to play that one at 6:00 because they have a volleyball game that night. So we're going to try to move it up a little bit, and so we can make both things work.
Okay, one more question before we let you go, Coach. Here, let's talk about the 9-man playoffs. It's a little ways away yet, but we still want to kind of talk about it. So give us the scenarios and everything. If you guys win this Friday night, that more than likely secures a spot in the playoffs for the Rockets, right?
Yeah, with only I haven't looked too far into it, but I think if we win here, with Hatton losing last week, I think if we win here, maybe we do secure the number 1 seed. I'm not for sure on that. So, win. If we can hopefully get to that number 1 spot, so we can get a first round bye, that would be nice. Top team in each region, they all get, so there's 8 of them, so they all get first round byes, and so that will then your first game would be at home, obviously. So a little new last year. I think they started seeding the teams, 1 through 8, or last year I think it was 1 through 4. Now this year it'll be 1 through 8. So if you can get a higher seed, you can get that 1 or 2 spot. That'll secure you home playoff games the entire way. So that's our ultimate goal. That's something we talk about a lot when we want to get that 1 or 2 spot to be at home the whole time.
And then it's the top 3 in each region go to the playoffs too, right? For 9-man.
Top 3 in each region, yes.
Okay.
So I think, say we were the 1, I think we'd maybe play first round to be like the number 2 out of region 4. So it'd be North Prairie's region over there. So, but long ways to go. We got to win Friday night before we start even thinking any of that. But yeah, it's coming quicker than we thought.
Okay, sounds good. We'll let you go, Coach. Thanks so much for joining us here, and good luck Friday night and the rest of the season for Rocket football.
All right, thanks for having me, Greg.
Treat yourself to a great career at American Crystal Sugar Company. Team up with quality people making quality products. Full-time and year-round in a stable business. With great pay and benefits including time off available from day one. American Crystal Sugar Company invests in you to promote your continued growth and career advancement. Grow your career doing your best work within the world's best beet sugar company. Apply online today at AmericanCrystalCareers.com.
Growers, prepare your fields and yields against the wet conditions for 2025 and beyond with a drain tile project from Chad's Excavating out of Mayville. Drain tiling will improve and increase your yields and land values for years to come. Chad's Excavating provides free, detailed estimates, and with over 40 years of combined success, they provide professional installation and service. Call Chad today to prepare for your future and any questions that you might have. That's Chad's Excavating out of Mayville, helping farmers grow.
And now with us on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show, we welcome a familiar face, certainly to the Northwest Minnesota area, Mr. Paul Clark, the head football coach for the Pillager Huskies, joining us. Paul, of course, had your game last week, the big matchup in week 4. I've got you and the Huskies again this week for radio coverage. Thanks for joining us here on the YLE Coaches Show.
Thanks for having me. It's my first time doing this, so.
3-1 on the season. Took your first loss last week to what looked like a very impressive Staples Motley team. Just to start off, Paul, halfway through the season, 4 games are in now. You're sitting at 3-1. What have you liked the most about what you've been able to do so far with this Huskies football team?
Well, I think sitting 3-1, there's worse records out there. A couple of years ago, we'd have been begging for a 3-1 record. But, we've improved. I think we found out last week what our deficiencies are now. So when you win, you don't learn as much. When you win, you don't improve as much, I don't think. And so when you take one on the chin, everything hits home a little harder. So I think that's and we talked about it kind of in the post game, but there's no good losses out there, but there's things you can build on. And those come to the forefront way better after a loss than a win, for sure.
From where you came into Pillager, because you are, now a couple years into it, and you started with a lot of young guys, and now you've got some guys that have played, 2, some even 3 years in the varsity program. The growth of where you want the Pillager football program and some of the goals that you set aside, where do you see those at this point, Paul?
Oh, we're improving, and that's all we wanted. I mean, you started off that first year, we had 4 seniors. You're not going to compete at this level with 4 seniors, and the year before they had a tough year because they had 4 juniors. And so it was a numbers game mostly. And third year is a lot easier. Football teams have their own language. It's like a foreign language. And learning that terminology over 3 years where, the first year it's all new to them, trying to learn Spanish or German the first year, it's going to be difficult. After 3 years, you pick up on the nuances and you pick up on the terminology and it becomes more automatic. And that's where we're at right now. And I'm very pleased with the improvements we made physically and, numbers wise, getting more kids out. And I like to think we're trending in the right direction.
Well, again, let's revisit week 4 real quick. You went over to Staples Motley, big rivalry, both teams 3-0. The crowd was huge. I mean, it was everything you love about a rivalry football game in terms of the setup and the hype. Staples Motley got up on you pretty big. You were able to bust a big one before half. The pretty much more even second half, but the Cardinals get the win 43-25. Now that you've had a couple of days to revisit that game and start working towards week 5, what were a couple of key things that stood out to you about where improvement needs to be for the Huskies to have a successful second half of the year?
Showed up on film, showed up on the field, and they played really, really well. They're a great team. I mean, they're so balanced and fast and big and powerful. It's hard to stop them, and we didn't do some things that I thought we needed to do. And number one is the head coach has to make those adjustments, and I did not. And so, from coaching on down, they whipped our tails for sure. But there was times when we should have had more success than we didn't. Again, they had a lot to do with it too, but I think they handled the situation better too. They handled the big game a little better than we did. We got a little wide-eyed and a little deer in the headlights, and especially in that second and third quarter, they kind of did whatever they wanted offensively, and defensively we had to struggle to get what we got. And so, hats off to them. We had a great film session yesterday, and it was a very humbling experience for everybody. We pointed out a lot of mistakes that got covered up, like I talked about before, because we won. We laughed at, and we weren't laughing anymore. And I let the boys know too. It's a lot of it wasn't them. It was decisions by the coaching staff, namely me. We could have done better things to put ourselves in better positions, and we're certainly not immune to the criticism. And I think everyone in that room came back a lot more humbled. But you know what? Hopefully that lit a fire. I know it did for me. And hopefully it lights a fire under them, and they come back ready to practice and have the best practice of the year.
Well, and with that, your next opponent, Walker Hackensack Akeley, that is a football team and program that they've had some down years recently, but boy, did they have an impressive win last week, and so that they're going to be coming in with some confidence coming down to Pillager Friday night as they beat New York Mills 34-0. As you prep this week for the Wolves, what have you seen from them, and what do you try to do for the Pillager game plan?
Well, they're physical, man. They have a couple kids that are gonna knock your block off if you're not ready. And they did the same thing for 2 quarters against Staples Motley the week before. They played really, really well. I don't see, they're not fancy. They just are physical. And you play a team like that, if you're not ready for it, and if you're still licking your wounds from the week before, they're gonna, as the game goes on, you could tell they get more and more confident. We're going to be in trouble. So we're going to need to be on our best game, and I think if we can do that, we'll be all right. But I think the start of the game is going to be huge. You let them get some confidence, I think they'll do well. I mean, they showed against New York Mills. Shoot, they made a play early, and they just gained confidence. They made every play after that. They had some great things happen. They made some great plays, some highlight reel plays. And so we're just going to have to make sure that we trust our technique and have a good start.
Offensively for the Huskies, because of course you have this offense that's the 4 yards in a cloud of dust, which is what we saw against Staples Motley. There were some struggles, and then you break a couple of big ones. You're talking about adjustments, Paul, in terms of not only the execution but also the play calling. Where are some things that you might want to look to expand or just execute better to make sure that the Huskies offense can move that ball down the field as you need to?
Well, we got to throw the ball more. I mean, Christian is a capable passer, and we have some receivers that can catch the ball. So we just got to make a commitment to it. Now, do we need to go shotgun 5 wide and throw it every play? No, but we need to keep the defense more honest. And that's where, the second half against Staples, even when they knew it was coming, we showed that we could do it. And so if me personally just understands that, and accepts it and swallows that ego a little bit and lets it happen, I think we're all going to be in a better place.
Well, I'm looking forward to this Week 5 matchup in Pillager with the Wolves in town. Coach, it's always a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you for some time, and congrats, of course, on the strong first half of the season.
Thank you, and thank you for the coverage. It means a lot to the kids, I know.
Yeah, absolutely. We're happy to do it. That's Paul Clark, head coach for the Pillager Huskies football team, joining us for the Your Live Event Coaches Show.
Live, work, and play here in Hillsboro, North Dakota. The Hillsboro Economic Development Committee can assist you with information and support for business and housing. Experience Hillsboro. More at 104.
For our YLE Coaches Show this week, we are joined by Bill Magnuson, head football coach for the 4-0 Pequot Lakes Patriots. Bill, you and I have gotten to know each other awfully well over the last few years. An outstanding start for the Patriot football team this year. Thanks for coming on with us for the Your Live Event Coaches Show to chat about this great season so far.
Well, thank you for having me. And, any way we can promote Patriot football and Patriot activities, I'm welcome to do it. So I'm excited for this interview.
4-0, you're coming off a very decisive win over Esco, who has been the cream of the district and the section over the last few years. Going into the game, Bill, I know you and I had talked, and we knew that Esco lost a really amazing pile of athletic seniors from last year. You are loaded with seniors this year, even though you certainly lost your share of talent. What went so exceptionally well in Week 4 for the Patriots to really put a stamp on what this season has been so far?
Yeah, well, thank you for asking that. Honestly, ESCO is the cream of the crop, as has been in our section and our district. They graduated just numerous talented individuals last year, but still had some really good people coming back. And we were nervous about that, of course, and prepared for quite a game. But, we have a lot of seniors out, as you know, and that leadership really paid off. A lot of these kids have played in the last 2 section finals against ESCO. So there was a desire to show them who's boss this year, so to speak. And our kids came out ready to play, and it started from the beginning. We took the opening drive, went down and scored. We stopped them. They had a high snap. We tackled the punter. We went down and scored. I mean, our kids were very determined, very focused mentally in the game. And we executed extremely well and pulled off a really big victory for our kids over a very good ESCO program.
And you really kind of have gone back to back. I was with you in Week 3 when you went up to Two Harbors, and they had a lot of good returning kids from last year. And after each of you scored on the opening possession, the Patriots were able to really kind of open it up, knowing what could potentially be keyed on these last 2 matchups to put you in a driver's seat, so to speak, for the section. What really has stood out to you, Bill, about how that team has been able to perform, knowing what could be on the line with the results of those games?
Honestly, balance. The balance in our program right now, what we do. Our defense has played just extremely well those 2 games against 2 great matchups with Two Harbors and ESCO. But I love what we do offensively. You can't focus on just the JP Elsenpeter and say you're going to stop him. Michael Oslin was 12 for 13 for 265 yards throwing the other night. So you can't just focus on one player or one part of our game and what we do offensively. We can do from any set, so that makes it really challenging. We're going to spread you out, or we're going to bring you in tight. We're going to run the ball. We're going to throw the ball. We're going to play action. And I think that balance is going to help us again when we come to the section. Again, you can't focus on one aspect of it because we can do the other aspect really well. And that, I contribute that to our group. They've been in our program for quite a while. We run the same things all the way down to our 3rd grade level, and it's starting to pay off. Everybody knows what certain plays are, and because of that, we run them very well against different fronts and different looks.
Well, that's a perfect segue, because the next question on my mind was just looking at the first half of this season. And again, with the first couple of games that I covered the Patriots, your entire starting lineup was made of seniors. What have you found is like the certain aspect of that group of how that's transitioned into the factors of the 4-0 start and the dominating wins that the Patriots have had?
Well, it plays a huge part. I think it's 26 official seniors out. 4 or 5 joined this year, and they're great guys that fit in. And a couple of them, we found ways to get them in. Harrison Kennan's been starting a little bit at tight end for us and doing some things. He's a great long snapper. We have a couple other guys that are doing great things. But the guys that were here previous, that game experience, that high pressure games of section finals or section semifinal, overtime wins is really starting to pay off because they're very focused on the task at hand when we come to that game. And that's a big thing right now is they're really good about focusing on the game at hand, not looking ahead, just focusing on what game we have. So that leadership plays a role. As a coach, we always wonder, how could we solve this problem? Why aren't juniors and sophomores as serious, and take everything the same way? And we don't have an answer to that always, but some reason your senior year, it just clicks because it's the finality of it. We talk to our players about, this is the last time many of you will play under the Friday night lights with your brothers, and this camaraderie and this connection. So they take it very seriously, and they want to be successful and leave a legacy as they leave our program.
So with the 4-0 start, you have another long road trip for week number 5. You're going up to Hibbing. They've been able to put a couple wins on the board this year, so it looks like they are up and coming in some sort of realm. Especially not just this game, Bill, but looking ahead, because you have all this experience, it's an interesting question, I think, to ask at this point, because you've been so well balanced and things have gone so well. What are some of the big focal points for the second half of the season for the Patriots to remain successful and make sure you're ready for the playoff run?
Well, I'm going to tip my hat, first of all, to Hibbing. They have gotten better. They're getting better at running their offense, and it's a North Branch style offense. It's going to be pound and ground, and we got to be prepared for it. Their coaches are doing a heck of a job. As we evaluate where we're at, with the great start, is what are things that are going to carry us into the playoffs? We want to be healthy. When that comes, to the section playoffs, we want to get more experience. We're starting to play a few more people. We do start now a junior on defense. We have another junior that comes in and does some nice things. We've been playing a few more people as we got into these games. But as we move forward, what are the little things, like what's our 2-minute offense like? We got to work on some of those things. So we've evaluated as a coaching staff some of the things we think we need to do over the next 4 weeks. And you're going to see that as you continue to watch Patriot football, some other tweaks to our system and to our game, and try to get better so we can have potentially a long playoff run.
Let's go back to Hibbing, just because we are looking at week number 5. As you're doing the film study, Bill, what in particular are you seeing from their offense? What are the things that they are doing better that you're going to have to make sure are the key components to try to have the Patriots at 5-0?
Well, that offense they run that everybody's mimicked from Elk River is very deceptive. They carry out their fakes well. They run off tackle well. I think what's impressed me the most is they do seem to get the edge a little bit more on teams. So they must have some good team speed there. It's things we're going to have to stay home. We have to be very physical on the front line, which we've done pretty well this year. And the biggest thing, like I told you earlier, staying home, is you got to be ready for counters and reverses that come back. And the next thing is they get some positive energy going. When they start getting a drive going, you can see the sidelines and the coaching staff just get amped up. They're starting to believe. And so we have to squelch that. We've got to stop them from believing. And that's going to be our goal, is to really, stomp on them a little bit and stop that offense. But they're doing a nice job. And, I tip my hat to the coaching staff up there.
Bill, congratulations, of course, on this outstanding start. Looking forward to much more Patriot football as we go to the second half of the season and beyond. We appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Devin, thank you. And thank you all you do for high school football.
Bill Magnuson, head football coach for the Pequot Lakes Patriots, here on the YLE Coaches Show.
There's more at 104. Hillsborough, North Dakota has everything you need on your next road trip. Food, fuel, fun, and family-friendly activities. Stop by and fill up your tank, or grab a bite to eat. Have a blast at Goose River Golf Club, the swimming pool, or one of our beautiful parks. There's even ice skating and cross-country skiing. Take in the sights or stay the night so you don't miss a thing. Experience Hillsboro and see why there's more at 104.
Sharing our heritage, sharing our future. Choosing the right bank for your financial needs can be challenging with the many choices available. Dakota Heritage Bank is pleased you're interested in knowing more about what they can do for you. The Dakota Heritage Bank community bank setting is a strong advantage they have over larger, less personal banks. Customers are more than account numbers, they are friends and neighbors. Working together, Dakota Heritage Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Our Your Live event Coaches Show continues here. I'm joined by Goodridge Grygla head coach, Coach Wilebski. Coach, you guys are off to an incredible start, 4-0, ranked number 2 in section or in 9-man football in the state, according to QRF. Just kind of talk about the amazing start that you guys have had to the year.
Yeah, it was very surprising with losing what we had last year and only one senior and a couple other returners. Probably the ranking is probably that big upset win against Ottertail, but we've been playing really well so far, and it's not going to get any easier with Clearbrook, Kitson Central, and Stephen coming up.
Well, you mentioned it. You guys lost a lot of key players last year. Only one senior on the team after winning the section in the previous year. You got a young quarterback right now in Landon Nordby. Kind of talk about what he's brought to the offense and how you guys have kind of eased him into that starting role.
Yeah, definitely. He really played well last week at Warren, especially the second half. He kind of carried us. We are, sliding him along slowly, and he's got a nice arm. And once he gets his reads a little bit better, we'll be able to throw probably a little bit more. But our line's been opening things up for the running game. Of course, that makes things easier too.
Couple close games in the last 2 weeks, 16-12 over Winnimac and then 20-18 over Warren, Alvarado, Oslo. How about the resilient effort for you guys with a young football team, just one senior on the team, to pick up those victories?
Yeah, that's something we talked about. Very proud of them. I don't know. With only one senior, it's hard to expect that out of kids. The Winnimac game, they grew up a little bit there. They had a little bit of controversy in the game, not anything bad, but it was back and forth, and they realized they had to play. And the same thing happened over at Warren. And they've been resilient so far, but it's only going to get tougher. So
let's talk about the lone senior, Big Gavin Awney. I mean, I don't know if I've seen a bigger kid up front around the area. I mean, he's listed at 6'5", 290. Talk about how tough that makes opposing teams blocking him, and then also it opens up your guys' run game, what he's able to do.
Definitely, he's really evolved this year. He's a little bit quiet and softer the last few years, but the marquee thing about him, besides his size, his feet are so quick. His first 2, 3, 4 steps he's just fast for a big guy. So yeah, he's really held down the middle on the defensive side, and offense, of course, he can move some people.
Does he want to play at the next level? Because you can just look at the size of him and then his skill set on the football field. Is that something that you've talked to him about at all?
We talked about it, and I've talked to some colleges, but when it all came said and done, he declines to. It's a full-time job.
Yeah.
And he said he couldn't commit to all that, and which is too bad in that aspect with his tools and his ability, but that's his choice. So, but yeah, he got talked to by UND and Bemidji and some of those schools. So
you guys in the backfield have a good 1-2 punch with the Jacobson, Sawyer Jacobson and Shea Jacobson. They've been really good for you guys.
Yeah, definitely. They open things up. They got quick feet. Very competitive. So that's been a nice thing too. When things start slowing down one way, we can bring those guys into the game, and they make big plays on offense, especially the second half of the Warren game. They kind of carried us and got us back in it.
Well, we mentioned it, a 4-0 start. I want to talk about your guys' culture, because it seems like you guys have built such an incredible culture there with Chargers football, and it really is a testament to your entire staff. You guys do a great job with these kids.
Oh, definitely. You hit it. My staff is tremendous. Grandstrand, he's a heart and soul. He's, very, very, very into it. And then we got energy with the younger coaches with Brady Olson and Andrew Sundberg. We did lose, of course, Mike Gass from last year. He'd been around many, many years. So, and I just try to keep the steering straight on the ship and hope things go well.
You guys got Clearbrook on Friday. They do have some playmakers. They've struggled record-wise, but they got a dynamic quarterback and they got some playmakers on the outside.
Definitely. We've been watching them on film. they could easily be 4-0 if their record was maybe a little bit different. They're going to be tough. The defense pins their ears back. Casey's son is a Carver. He's throwing the ball well. And then Hassan or whatever, number 5, he's fast. If he gets in the open, we're going to be in trouble.
How big has it been for your young football team to win close games and really just start believing in themselves as they progress through the year? You know, we mentioned that you lose those key seniors a year ago, but you can feel that belief from those young kids, can't you?
Definitely. Hold on a second. We got a beeper here.
No problem.
Okay. Yeah, their confidence has gotten better and better, but we're going to have close games all the way through. There's, I would say, 4 teams up top here. You know, Kitson Central, Stephen Argyle, us, and Warren, Alvarado Hostel. Anybody can beat anybody come playoffs, and you just got to get better every week. And the big thing for us, we have to stay away from injuries. That's going to be a big thing because we don't have a lot of depth with our numbers. So, you know, you just got to play it out. And I hope for a good seed, 1 or 2 seed would be nice. But, you know, you got to beat everybody anyway.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned it. How is the health of the team right now?
We're a little bit dinged up, but nothing major. Kids are fighting through it, taping up some ice packs. We've been a little bit lighter maybe in practice, some just so we're not getting hurt, but we're fine.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today. We're going to be at the game on Friday covering you guys on KKCQ 96.7 FM as well as on Garden Valley. So I look forward to catching up with you before the game, and best of luck to you.
Yeah, thanks for covering us. And it's a 6:00 game. And hopefully they mentioned you because of homecoming. So that's the worst week is homecoming week, it seems like, for us. Putting it on is to keep the kids focused. So hopefully we don't lay an egg.
I don't think you will, Coach. I look forward to being there.
Hey, thank you now. Bye.
Thanks, Coach. Bye.
Live, work, and play here in Hillsborough, North Dakota. The Hillsborough Economic Development Committee can assist you with information and support for business and housing. Experience Hillsborough. More at 104.
Join us now, the head coach here for the Kindred Vikings. That is Coach Schaeffer, and autumn for you guys. You know, set number 1 kind of went all Sargent County's way. Set number 2 you had to fight for. A great start in set number 3. Then you fended them off. And then you obviously closed the door on them late in set 4. What did you just kind of see from your team with the Region 1 victory here tonight?
They really gave their all. They gave their passion. That's what we've been looking for. We've been looking for the fire who's going to lay it all on the court for their team, for themselves, for anybody in this gym who came out tonight. So they really brought that tonight. They showed that they know how to fight.
Let's talk about Lila Kittleson. We just heard from her. I had her down for 10 kills. She was able to help out on the blocks as well. Just kind of what did you see from her performance? Because when she gets going, that obviously just adds another element to you guys offensively and defensively.
Yeah, her attitude is great. When she's on, she's really on. She's really that supportive person for her teammates. Like, she really can help them and aid them in any way possible. And you can tell when she's out there for the team. She's not out there for herself. She's playing to do her best for absolutely everybody out there. So if anybody's going up for a block, she's going to make sure she's there closing it. If anybody gets that ball up, she's going to get that ball over the net because she knows somebody else worked really hard for it, so she's going to show that in retrospect.
You kind of take a look at your back row play here, and there is a number of times where you could call it scramble drills where they're moving all over the court, but they found a way to keep putting the ball over the net. What does that do defensively for a club, knowing that, hey, no matter what, even if there's maybe a miss hit, we can still find a way to keep the volley going?
Yeah, so they know just from that, like, as long as the ball's still in play, it's anybody's point. It really fires them up. Like you talked about pancakes earlier. As long as somebody can get there, somebody's getting a hand or an arm or a leg or a foot or whatever they can on that ball, they know they can just keep working that much harder. They know if they can get a hand there, they can get a foot there, that they can get the rest of the body there, and the next one's going to be just as good or better if they can.
Saw a couple blocks here tonight. You saw one with Odegaard. You saw one with Baco, especially going one-on-one there with Carly Kadun, who might be one of the more powerful hitters here in this region. When they can get some blocks going off a really good hitter, what's the message for a coaching staff just to the rest of your blockers at the net?
Just that they know how to read. They're out there. They know what their job is. Yeah, you're a hitter, but you're defense first always, and I think that goes for every position out there. So we talk to them about that a lot. Defense first, defense first, defense first. Like you said, there's always going to be a way we can get that ball over the net. We can still be aggressive even if we're not hitting, so maybe you're a little late or the set doesn't go quite where you want it to, but you were able to get up there, you were able to do your job, and you were able to slow that ball down for your defense.
Another senior I'll bring up here kind of a little bit with Kennedy, but back row play. Roland was kind of everywhere, obviously, for you guys. What did you see from her pass passes and able just to kind of keep that going as well.
Like, exactly that. She's able to keep it going. I'm never worried about her back there. I know if she makes a mistake, she's going to do everything in her power to make sure that it either doesn't happen again or she knows how to fix it. I never really have to pull her aside and be like, Leah, what was that? Like, she's really good at, like, monitoring herself, monitoring, like, what she's doing on that court and making sure, like, her reading the hitters tonight was just phenomenal.
Able to get to 3-2 in region play. You got a nice little time off now in terms of still got practices. You still have homecoming festivities this week, but the Lisbon-Enderlin tournament, what's one thing that you kind of want to bottle up from this particular match once you turn the calendar to October, where you guys will have Maple River, one tournament, then the Shields Invite in Fargo as well. So you have a lot of volleyball in about a week of time coming up here, Autumn.
Yeah, they need to know what this felt like. They needed to know what bringing the fire felt like, what that passion was on the floor. I told them multiple times in our huddle tonight, like, I feel love in this Chili's tonight. So if you get my office reference, they didn't necessarily understand, but the coaching staff understood. And so I just was telling them, like, this is what it feels like to be passionate. This is what it feels like to have fire and to be maybe not total aggression, but to be intense at the net. Like, these are the things that you need to carry forward. And again, for our younger girls, they don't have that right away. They don't understand that right away. So this really sets the pace for us going forward, especially for those young girls who've never experienced it.
It's a really good win. You're able to get to 3-2 in region play. Congratulations again, Autumn, and best of luck moving forward.
Thank you.
That again, Coach Schaeffer here for the Kindred Vikings. We'll put a bow on this one next from Kindred.
Hi, this is Jim, and along with Bernie, we're inviting R&J Broadcasting Incorporated listeners to join us on a tour of the Hawaiian Islands, February 22nd through March 3rd. The Big Island will be part of this trip while taking in the breathtaking views of Oahu, the Big Island, and Maui. Enjoy the perfect balance between scheduled activities mixed with personal leisure time. Visit holidayvacations.com, keyword RJ to learn more about this tour, or call 888-557-1020 for a free brochure.
Don't be fooled by that beat-up old cap. Its faded crown represents the tireless work of America's farmers and ranchers. Its sturdy brim, their dedication to providing our nation with a safe, affordable food source. So we'd like to tip our hat to them. Farmers Union Insurance, protecting those that protect America's food source.
Visit with Ryan Opdahl, your local Farmers Union Insurance agent in Hillsborough.
Joining us now, part of our senior spotlight this week is Mason Klabo from Fargo Davies, as he made his commitment to play collegiate hoops at Illinois State. And let's start there, Mason. First things first, congratulations on the commitment. Just going to take us through the process. I know it's been a long journey for you to get to this point and having the aspirations of playing at the collegiate level. So let's just kind of talk about what kind of got you from point A to point B here from Fargo down to Normal, Illinois.
Yeah, so they started recruiting me in May, kind of late May. They saw me at the first live event that they could come to. So they saw me in May. They liked me. They've stayed in contact ever since. They kind of offered me in June, and they recruited me really hard, super hard. And I built just a super great relationship with the head coach all the way down to the GAs now at the visit, and even the assistant coach. I got really close with assistant coach named Andrew Dockich, who recruited me. He was pretty much my main recruiter. So when I went on that visit, just this past weekend, I was kind of hesitant on, the town, the facilities, all that stuff. And I mean, I already grew a great relationship with the coaches, so that wasn't anything to be worried by. But once I got down there and saw everything I wanted was there, and everything I needed was there. So it was just a no-brainer that I wanted to commit that next day.
What was the biggest thing, I guess you could say, that how do you say, okay, you know what, once I made my commitment, once I made the visit, what made just Illinois State kind of feel at home? What was the biggest thing for you, Mason?
It was just the relationships, like with the coaches. It just feels like I could kind of be myself, and they really want me to not change as a basketball player, and they want me to play the way I play, and they like how I play. So that was always a big thing. But just kind of visiting the campus and being around the guys, being around the coaches, it was just something that I couldn't turn down, and something if I would go somewhere else, I'd always think about. So for me, it was just that relationship with coaches and how they want me to be myself was just the hugest thing for my commitment.
Yeah, I was going to kind of go to my next point. What were you looking for at particular schools? And you maybe just hit it on the head. So I'll ask you a different question here, Mason. What was the relief? Was there relief? Talk us through the process of recruiting. If someone's never been in your shoes before, of having opportunities to play at the collegiate level, how much behind the scenes work are you doing as a player? As they're scouting you, I'm sure you're kind of scouting them as well to say, hey, how do the coaching staff? What's the facilities, as you kind of alluded to, Mason? So just take us through the recruitment process behind the scenes scenes, if you will, for you on this decision?
Yeah, so during the summer, there's a lot of phone calls, a lot of text messages, pretty much every day you're pretty much on the phone a lot, especially in the deep of summer. But coming into the fall here, going on these visits, I kind of narrowed it down to Wyoming, Illinois State, and DePaul. And just the biggest thing for me is relationships. Like, as a lot of people see and know, that I have a really big relationship with Bart Manson, my head coach here. And that's something I wanted to, match or replicate in the college level, is having that relationship with the head coach or assistant coach. And so when I went through the recruiting process, that was a big thing, is talking to these people, questioning them a little bit too about, what they see in me, what, they want me to do for their program, stuff like that. And so when I get on those visits, like, it's a big, like, if people are going through a recruiting process, I'd highly recommend taking visits, because you get a feel. Like, there's just a feel. There's this thing you can't explain. And, taking these visits, I got, like, Wyoming, DePaul, and Illinois State had just amazing coaches, and they recruited me hard. And for, like, I think the first 2 weeks in September, I had either like a one coach every single day here in Fargo. There's home visits and watching open gym and stuff like that. So it gets to be busy, but it's just like a blessing. And so when I go through that recruiting process, that's something that, like I said earlier, is I just need to have a relationship and the feel. And when I got to Illinois State, there's just this feel that it didn't go away when I came home. And again, like I said, I just couldn't throw that away. So when I came home that Monday after school, I just called them and told them, I want to be a Redbird.
Now that you made that decision, you have senior year in front of you. Obviously, right now when it comes to classes, obviously there's a number of things I'm sure that you're looking forward to on and off the basketball court as well. So what are some of the things coming up in the future weeks, future months, before you kind of get that cap and gown, so to speak, Mason, that you're looking forward to here one last time at Fargo Davies?
I mean, I'm always looking forward to the high school things, like homecomings next week. So that's always a fun time in high school. And I'm very, very excited about this senior year for basketball. And it's something that I want to kind of get here quicker, because basketball season's super fun. I love it in the winter, and being around the guys every day and being around the coaches. It's just a lot of fun. And, I think we got a pretty good team this year. So I'm excited to see what we can do, how we compete for this upcoming winter. And then in the spring, just kind of living your last high school days up, and, being with your friends, being with all that. So I'm excited for the year.
For you here, Mason, too, just moving forward, you mentioned Bart Manson a little bit, whether it's Bart or some of your coaches that you had growing up, whether it was basketball or any particular age range. What are some things that you've kind of learned from those coaches, from Coach Manson and his assistants, that you will take with you, once you get down to Illinois State?
The older I get, the more that I see as these coaches is they spend a lot of time in basketball mode and, like, their preparation and stuff like that. And what I've learned a lot from Bart is not necessarily the basketball stuff, but the off-court stuff, is like how he studies, the mindset, how he reads books, stuff like that has been. And even, I mean, I guess he's the girls' coach now, Matt Veit, but the assistant coach, he's really big on that stuff. And that's something I've taken from them, is just the mental aspect of the game, and, learning how just to, max out yourself, because once you max out yourself in your mind, you can max out your basketball skills on the court. So that's probably one of the biggest things I've taken from these coaches.
For you, Mason, the three-class system last year, I know a lot of people were kind of curious about how it was going to go, at the AA, A, and B level. For you, was it any particular change on the basketball court, or did you notice anything different, or did it just kind of feel same old, even though some former teams that you had in conference play maybe, weren't there on a January or, February night?
It felt the same to me, but the one thing I liked about it is we can play more non-conference games. So, like, we got to play a little bit of the West teams. This year we actually go to Minneapolis and play some Minneapolis teams, and I think a St. Cloud team. And so, like, that's like the thing I love the most about it, is you can play a little more non-conference games. And, obviously the non-conference game starts earlier in the year, so it's, like, hard to say that you kind of got to look at the West, because, everyone changes from, December to March, but it's kind of good to, have a feel for the West, and because you never get to play them. So that's kind of the best thing for me, and I think our team agrees too, is that three-class system is playing those non-conference games.
What would be some words of advice if you go back to your 14-year-old self? If you go to someone who's chomping at the bit to play, at the varsity level, and maybe wants to be a college athlete someday in any particular sport here, Mason, what would be some words of advice that you'd like to pass down for that next generation coming up?
I'd say, the most important thing is being consistent, having routine. I think that's something I wish I learned earlier, is, having routine every day, kind of with me, like every night I write down what I want to do the next day just so I don't fall off track and I stay consistent. But that's probably the biggest thing I tell someone is be consistent, have a routine, go through it every day, and, get better every day. And when people say that, it's not necessarily, lifting or basketball workouts every day. Like sometimes you can have an off day, but on that off day, you got to get better somehow with, mobility, stretching, getting your body right, eating well. So when people say that, and, I like to say it too, is getting better every day. It doesn't have to be exactly basketball related. It can be mentally, it can be, mobility, stretching, stuff like that. So that's what I tell my 14-year-old self.
To this particular point in September when we're talking favorite sporting memory of all time, something with Fargo Davies, is it something on the travel circuit, something with family members and friends going to a game, Mason? What's a couple of sports memories, so to speak, that's 1A or 1B, so to speak, on your list?
I mean, every EDC championship for basketball has been good. Me personally, my favorite event, it always comes to mind, but it was my freshman year of football, and I was the second string. And it was homecoming. And I was, I didn't expect to play. I just pretty much was field goal holder during the time in the varsity level. So didn't expect to play. And I was just sitting on the sideline, literally talking to my friend, like what we're going to do tomorrow for homecoming and stuff, just was not paying attention. And Dylan Feldner, the starting quarterback at the time, got tackled and his helmet came off. So he has to come out for one play. So yelling at me, they're telling me to get in. I'm like, oh no, like this, I'm not ready. I was not mentally prepared for this. So I get in, they call a play, and it's a pass play. I thought we were just going to run it. Like I haven't thrown, I haven't done anything. So I read off the pass play. Well, I read it off wrong. I tell him to do the wrong routes. So I look, I drop back, and I'm looking where he's supposed to be. He's not there. So I just take off. And I think it was like when I take off, it just opened up. Like there was no one there. And I scored a touchdown, and it was a packed homecoming game, and everyone was cheering. But that was probably my best memory because it just was super unexpected, and I was not supposed to be in that position.
And maybe something that's unexpected too, the basketball court, just the game of workouts that you're able to do too. What has basketball maybe given to you in a similar trait that you kind of said, Mason, that maybe was unexpected, or what is basketball just kind of given to you in general too in your family?
I think the biggest thing is relationships, and like the biggest thing it's given me is like I got really good friends in the Minneapolis area that I played with over summers, and that like means a lot to me because I became very close with people, with players, with their parents, with coaches, knowing people, getting to know other people. So that's just like the biggest thing, and the biggest thing it's given me is getting to know people outside of this area, and going down south, we went to South Carolina this year, and just getting to know some of these people all across the country and becoming friends with them is probably the best thing it's given me.
Last thing for me, Mason, some goals and aspirations that you have once you get to the basketball court. I know talking with you in the EDC championship, right? You're able to go off there and break your own school record and do stuff of that nature. I know that's just a single game at that particular time, but what do you expect this season, just kind of coming into the year here for Fargo Davies basketball this year?
Yeah, we're young. I'm the only starter coming back, so we got to return we returned one starter, me, and then we got two kids that played just a little bit, but not a lot of minutes last year. So we got a pretty young team with varsity playing time. So I'm excited to see how they get better every day for practice, getting ready for this game. And we got a pretty big team, tall wise. We got a couple, 2 6'8" and 6'6". So we're gonna be tall, but it's just getting the feel for the varsity level and this feel for the speed and all that. So I'm super excited to play, one last year with these guys.
Hey, Mason, congratulations again on your commitment to Illinois State. Looking forward to seeing you at the basketball court sooner rather than later here coming up in a few months.
Yeah, thank you again.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. Join us next month as we turn the calendar over to October for the latest edition of the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show on Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock. Brought to you in part by the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation. I'm Chase Miller. Enjoy the rest of your night.